Guys, you see the smile on my face? It doesn't happen often because we have something really special. We have a knife that I have found only one tiny issue with. Yeah, it's a pocket clip. The Vosteed Bellamy, and I love this thing. This thing is incredible. So, not to spend a lot of time here looking at it, guys, let's turn it around and look at it from above. But first, turn down that volume because here comes a little bit of music. Let's take a good look at this Vosteed Bellamy. So this thing is a great knife. It's gonna, just a disclaimer, it seems really quick between the first day in pockets and the first, the first impressions video and the actual full review. And that's because that footage had some issues and I had to refilm the intro and outro because they were corrupted for some reason. So it is rather close for you guys, but to tell you the truth, this was one of the first knives I put in my pocket out of that last batch of knives that Jared sent me. Not the one where you saw the 3 videos where we had the what was it, the Iron Man knife and stuff like that. But this was a batch that Jared sent me. This thing is awesome. It really is, and I couldn't find a lot wrong with the knife. There's not much at all except one minor thing, really, in the big scope of things to talk about. Other things are just like preference and aesthetic issues. So let's go ahead and get the specs. So the specs, we'll put them off here to the side. So you guys will see a spec sheet off here on the right. But we will look at a couple specs. We'll look at the blade stock thickness and behind the edge thickness and stuff like that. So yeah, guys, nice knife. This thing comes in M390. This is, I believe, the limited edition. This is what I saw. So you're looking at M390 hollow ground clip point blade. And it is slicey, guys, let me tell you, with this beautiful fuller and then carbon fiber handle. So this thing is light. You know what? We will actually weigh it. We'll actually weigh it because I know that there's probably some weight specs in the spec sheet that I'm going to put off to the right. But yeah, we'll get some weight on it. But before we do that, I just want to look at it. So the nice thing about this is the aesthetics on it are great. First of all, they hid those liners. And they hit them well. They did a good job of it. It's nice and clean. There's only a couple spots where you really see those liners. And they're just in areas where you would expect to see them. You know, things that are a little too close to hide and slot that out. See how much closer that stop pin and everything is. And there's just reasons that you can't hide the entire thing. But it gives it a nice, clean look. It is a front flipper. And you guys know I'm typically not a fan of it. But in a liner lock, I'm much more inclined to say it's okay if it's in a liner because when I deploy it with the front flipper, I'm not putting pressure on the lock bar because the lock bar is completely enclosed. But it also has a back flipper, and to tell you the truth, the action on it's so good, guys, I'm not gonna lie. That fuller, that blade fuller can act as a reverse flick, as a aperture to flip it open because the action is so good on it. So let's go ahead and get some blade stock thickness and some weight real quick. And then we'll talk about, like, I carried this and I cut with it. It is really, really good. And I'll tell you just the only one thing I found that's a negative and then just some aesthetic things. Go ahead and do weight first. Because like I said, I know that it's probably in the spec sheet, but I will tell you the weight on this is not, like, for the size of knife you're getting, it's not a lot in weight. It's pretty light. So in grams, 85 grams, guys. I've had knives that were smaller than this come in 100 grams plus. In ounces, I'm really curious about this. 3 ounces dead even on my scale. Well, my scales aren't the most accurate, but 3 ounces dead even. Light knife. So let's get the scale out. Guys, we are zeroed out. Let's make sure again. Yep, zeroed out. So blade stock thickness on this is not real. It's I'm going to say it's 1.2. Or 0.12, I mean, 0.12 on blade stock thickness. Behind the edge thickness is what I'm curious about because this thing cuts like a laser. And I'm gonna try and get right behind the edge, right behind it. 0.025-ish. So that's not super thin, but it's also in that Goldilocks zone of things that cut really well. Anywhere anywhere between, you know, 0.02 and 0.01, in that range, you got a really slicey knife. So it does cut really, really well. So I carried this, for about 2 weeks now. It's been in and out of pocket. The action on it is amazing. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. We're just gonna talk about the good things of the knife first. Action on it, amazing. First of all, it is not a heavy blade. It's not a heavy knife. The action on it, drop shut. There is no, you know, when you have a heavy bladed knife, and I got this out just to show you, when you have a heavy bladed knife, you can have something drop shut that, even if it's not real smooth, it'll still drop shut. That's a big, heavy blade. This is getting no assistance. This is all action. The action is so smooth and free that it is drop shut. The only knives, there's knives out there that are smoother, but this is up there with like Norseman levels of smooth, where you've got a light blade that has got that kind of action where it's just crazy drop shut. Blade shape, I mean, just if you want to look at aesthetics, blade shape on that is just amazing. And then you have the big full fuller that runs the whole length. I know some people don't like it because it gives it a weird look. I love when a fuller runs the full length of the blade and then terminates. I think I said that in first impressions, if I remember, because it gives you a lot of different facets. You've got like, it doubles those facets in there. You know what I mean? So it just looks good. The grind on this is really consistent, really good. The edge is consistent and even. It might be a little bit favoring one side, but I'm really trying to, like, that's picking. The edge on it is amazing. It does have a little bit of this sway back to it that typically I'm not a fan of, but this one, it's minimal. It's not as bad as some of the other knives, and it aligns you up. And what it does is, if I was holding this like a regular knife where it didn't have that sway back, that pocket clip would be a hot spot, and it's not. It's just about perfect in hand. No real hot spots, even with the jimping on the flipper right there, no problem. Easy access to the lock bar for that liner lock, reversible pocket clip for both sides. No issues at all whatsoever with deployment and use. Just the ergos on it are great. I did a short this morning talking about, if you're gonna buy a knife based on ergos. Don't buy it off of, can I get the front flip? I can't, I have to use my thumb. Don't buy a knife based on the way it looks. Buy a knife based on the ergos. The nice thing about this one, you're getting both. This thing is sexy. This is a good looking knife. And then you're getting all the bells and whistles. Also, the action on it is that flipper tab is just about right to flip it like that. If you're one of those guys that likes to have multiple, like do the cool, you know, how am I deploying my knife different multiple ways? It does work that way. So let's talk about any little negatives. The only things that I really found, I don't think I necessarily needed the jimping on that, because you can definitely feel it in hand. But the nice thing is they're really soft. So they're not showing, like I said, I'm just reaching here. Jimping there, some people might find it uncomfortable if you have soft hands, because there are some points right there that are digging in. But the fact is that you don't feel like you're pushed down into it. Like I've got a really good grip on that, like how I would hold it. I'm barely even touching it, if at all. I'm really not even touching those. So you know, bells and whistles there. As far as negative things, I'm not a fan of lanyard holes. I really am not. There's a knife sitting here that I had out for another video. I like this. It gives you the option. You still have every bit as much use of that lanyard as you would, but it's in there and it's not making the knife. I mean, this is kind of an ugly knife to begin with, but you're not detracting from. I don't like lanyard holes. And it's all the aesthetics. I don't like the way they look. And there's a little rattle from the stop pin. You can kind of hear it. Focus, stay with me. We're almost done. There's a little rattle from the stop pin, but not much. And like Jared said, if you were to put like a drop of glue in on one side to hold it in place, or a little bit of grease, it probably wouldn't rattle. Not an issue. There is one little thing that it doesn't affect, but there's a little bit of gap in the pivot hole versus the actual pivot. You can kind of hear it a little bit, but once it's locked out, there's no play, there's no blade play, And in a closed position, you really don't feel it either. So once there's tension on the blade, that ever so slight little bit is taken care of. That lock bar is pushing it up in. Could that cause problems later as the stop pin deforms? Possibly. But I'll tell you a little trick. Just rotate your stop pin occasionally. If you rotate your stop pin, you shouldn't have any issues because you're hitting a new spot on it. Overall, aesthetics is great. So let's talk about the one negative thing that I had with this knife. The pocket clip. It's always a pocket clip with me. Like typically it's a pocket clip. The pocket clip is a little tight right there. So to get it all the way in your jeans, to get it up over the seam, and I'll try and show you a picture off here to the right of what I'm talking about, or I'll just pop up a picture right here. But yeah, when you put it in your pocket, there's a little bit of a tightness, and you have to lift that up. Lift that up ever so slightly to get it all the way over the seam at the top of your pants pocket. That's the only issue I ran into, period, with it at all, as far as deployment and carry. No issues with ergos, no issues with cutting. It's a cutting champ. If you're looking for a really good knife to cut with, this would be the one. So the only thing that I can see that might be a showstopper for people might be the price, because on price, I've got the website pulled up here right now. It's not super cheap. It's about $129, which is kind of what I thought, because that's the same price as the Nightshade. So that might put some people off because that's over $100, but I'm going to tell you right now, for what you're getting at $100, just that action, $129 on that. Holy cow, guys. Vosteed Knives really kind of knocked it out of the park with their first two showings that I've seen as a folding knife company. They were a kitchen cutlery company until recently. So yeah, I just can't, guys, I'm not gonna lie, I love this knife a lot. The only knife I can think of that really impressed me lately as much was the, what was it? The Miguron Valona that Jared sent me, that is mine now. Yeah, super high quality on this for the price. At $129, you're getting, I would have expected this knife to be closer to $300 with the action and just the way it cuts and the overall just cleanness of the design and the execution. You're getting a $300 knife at the $150 price point. And if you're like me and you don't like that pocket clip, guess what? There's a lot of pocket clips that have that whole pattern, that same pattern for those screws. So there you go, guys. The Vosteed Bellamy. I'm sitting here, I'm smiling. I'm enjoying this so much. I could just keep going on about it, but you know, we're already well over 10 minutes of me talking plus intro outro. You're gonna be looking at a longer video. So guys, that's it on this one. I love it. It's great knife. Oop, dropped an F-bomb. I can get away with one every once in a while. Let's turn this around, do some final thoughts. So there you go, guys. That's the first knife in a long time that I've had that really just didn't have too many gripes. Like I had a hard time finding anything wrong with it. And some people are like, well, maybe you shouldn't try to find things wrong with it. That's kind of the whole point of the channel, is so that I can provide you guys things that I find on knives that might not be optimal. So, but this one, not an issue on the God, this thing is a good knife. It's been a while, but there's a chance the onesie in me, the little, ooh, I want that, might look at getting one of these. So guys, that's it on this one. Smile still on my face. I love this little knife. Just that one little thing. Like I said, it's a little tight and it doesn't go all the way over your pants. That's basically it. That's it. Like that's all I could find wrong with it. And I'm a picky dude. So guys, if you like the content, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down, but tell me why. I can't change the content if you don't tell me what you don't like. If you want to support the channel, it's as simple as like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell icon. But you turn that bell icon on, you better turn on notifications on your device or you're not going to get notified of the 2, sometimes 3 items that go up a day on this channel. If you want to support the channel financially, there's a handful of ways you can do it. Down below in the description below, I have got a membership tab that's tier-based. Pick the tier that gets you what you want out of the membership. And but just remember, all tiers, everyone that's a member gets $5 off my sharpening service, and they have access to my gilded server where we hang out and just talk. If you want to be a premium tier member though, however, I have a sharpening tutorial series that I built. Sharpening tutorial series, it's worth the money. Other ways you can do it, I have affiliate links down below. You know, I've got Coffee Brown Coffee and Blade HQ. Those are the big ones I'm pushing because those are the ones that I'm really passionate about. I love Blade HQ. I love the fact that most of what you're going to see on the channel, you can get at one spot, Blade HQ. But I have a bunch of other affiliates down below, and it doesn't cost you anything at checkout. It just provides me a little bit at checkout for having provided those links to you. And the final way is I have a merchandise store on Ember Shirt Co. Well, I'm not wearing that shirt today, but I have set up a coupon code that works anywhere on Ember Shirt Code that saves you 10% at checkout. That coupon code is CrazySharp, capital C, capital S, CrazySharp, all one word. Saves you 10% at checkout. And if you send me pictures of you wearing my merchandise, I will put them in the videos. Guys, I love you all. Keep it clean in the comment section. It makes it easier to moderate the channel. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I will see you in the next video.